Oh, 7? Wednesday, July 17th. First
One of those.
all.
Closet of Fridays. No.
Calling the Columbus Arts Commission meeting to order. The next scheduled hearing is on Wednesday, July 30th. At 12 p.m. For our business meeting, right?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Right. I'm gonna go for that. Any city staff would like to swear in? So we do use or to tell the truth, the whole truth, or nothing but the truth?
I do.
So very much. Any staff, other openings?
Identify?
Yeah.
No?
Yes.
Commissioner? Yes. Before?
We need to motion to approve the minutes from the last, meeting. Question? You.
Make a motion to.
For a second. And all in favor? Aye. Please.
So that's on our agenda.
I'm updating today or just.
I have to swear in me. It doesn't have to be anything else.
You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, I did.
Thank you so very much. We turn it over to you.
Do I need to say my name for the record and such?
Sure.
Aaron Blue, the Department of Development. So really just confirming that we, have scheduled the next business meeting for July 30th. I want to thank all of the commissioners for and around all the other schedule challenges that are happening in the summertime. It's just kind of what the summertime is like, right? So, appreciate it if you can join on Wednesday the 30th. We will have with us at that meeting Amanda Golden from Presenting Local, and I believe maybe also Matt Leisure as a part of her team. Not sure, but at least it will be at least me and working on those updates now. And I think questions from the group.
But the 30th was the day that was. Another room for that.
Oh, right, you mentioned that. And that,
12 to 1. They usually an hour or we,
Usually about an hour.
yeah, okay. We're hoping that we can do a presentation, about 20-minute presentation and then have plenty of time for conversation for that. That's our goal of
Is there something happening today?
There is a gallery opening at Gay and High at the Brandt Gallery. So if it's not raining too badly, when the meeting is over, you're all welcome to walk over. So Abby Camagate, who is the photographer and she's been documenting her entire project, also a visual artist, and so she's created a body of work inspired by the engagement. The show is called Leave Good Soil, and that show will be at so Brandt Gallery has a side section called Page of Projects, and that part of the new gallery space on Gay and High is dedicated to kind of arts process, and so we're like the second show in that in the new space. We're excited about that, and the show will be up today, September 21st. To Michelle Brandt.
Okay, that's fine.
She moved from the
From the
short
short
one.
one.
Thank you, okay.
Three. One of the three, so if you haven't been, it's a good excuse to come and there will be snacks. But so there are intersection. Yeah, Lindsay, and then I forget the name of the,
Oh, 1/7, so it's like a whole.
That's why I.
Oh, really? That's sure. Well, like, because we're moving the next letter. That's yeah. So we're excited about the show, and then we'll have more to talk about in a couple weeks.
Some of the things that came up. That relates to us and all, but my, some of the Ryan sent to me was fun. Project through. The job description was in liaison. The description is go. One thing was still working out. Be probably about already. This for sure. Us and our budget, so we're gonna come in specific to what right now.
GCAC has committed $1 million, is that right?
500,000 over
500.
5 years.
500 over 5 years.
I think that's the number, right? And they were able to redirect, the part of the ticket tax revenue. Funding.
Where I say, I would say at least the same, because that's. Columbus, like our plan and stuff. That would be. I mean.
Talk soft, I couldn't hear any of that.
Yeah, sorry, now I was saying, so it sounds like, GCAC has committed $500,000 over the next 5 years, and I would, from where I sit, I would think, make sense for this. Because it's the city's. Feasible, that is, where that money comes from. But I would think, certainly we've spent so much time on this plan and it's.
That they haven't been said, well, also. That we are seeing something. Back to, this may be hopping a little bit, but with respect to, the Tom leaving and the person coming in, do we have an opportunity to engage or plan together to engage to or whatever the title is, I'm sorry, for them, because plan for somebody to inherit. The scope of this work, or even saying, nah, never mind, I'm not interested in that. Yeah. So probably works.
Oh, it's amazing, right, by the way. Yes, happy birthday.
So if we could, then, I mean, if that can be part of the conversation as well. Remember they select this person.
My sense is general. Go, and my lead was very dense with ghosts. Person as well to manage the program. And as part of my second question was the
City has committed some kind. I think it's going to be super quick. For our ends to make sure that we have our ducks in a row as well, that, this can.
Right now, we don't have a job. staff member. Hotline right now, just to have them by city staff. So whenever the program really takes off, that's the day.
JD for that one. This one, they're writing the job description.
I don't believe so.
Yeah, but it's
No,
JD.
not, so that wouldn't be the city,
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
But
That, okay.
the director of the,
Who's writing the one? for the city?
I'm sorry.
the job description for the city liaison must be a civil servant.
Depending on, what the type of.
They're trying to figure out where the employee falls. Is that what's happening?
I don't think department-wise, the employee would be in planning, but right now, there's not a single individual identified or a single job, right? And the functions will be split among several, and what I'm hearing Sophie saying, I think, vision with development, and it has to. It's going to demand. Job description would definitely, someone in development would have a hand in crafting the job description, and depending on what type of employee it is, it might could be civil service or like a or what, but that would definitely be involved.
I have trepidation. Considering that we've gone this. All the fleshed out.
And I don't think that he needs to wait until they figure out what they're gonna do in order to to craft this job around that. That really sounds extremely lazy. And without thoughtful or all this work that has been put into it. So I don't know to whom that should go, or they should be able to speak to us directly about what this job is going to have to do, but it needs to happen soon.
That way, we have an opportunity to be able to push that out, that information out to our constituents about what is going to be offered. This job is coming up eventually. Hey, I'm thinking that you need to apply for this because of like the connections that are sitting again on the side of the table and on yours, that we have an opportunity to put people in space where they should be. And that just doesn't come by way of, oh, by the way, the job is open, go get it. No, like there needs to be time to flesh this out, as a point of consideration.
Like the time where I can bring this up. As I think more about the public art plan, I think about the accountability and just like where people kind of give an update and those kinds of things. My question is, what are we working on? You know, I gotta be working on something, but it's just like, we're very much focused on what GCAC is doing. Public art plan is gonna be based on kind of GCAC involvement. I would continue to kind of push back and say, but right now the ball is in our court. So what are we focused on? What are we working on? And just kind of, it helps me be a better commissioner to understand what our focus and goals are right now. Because right now I'm feeling like a devil's advocate in the art plan, and rightfully so. However, are there any like things that we could be doing that to help even maybe art plan that maybe it helps or, you know.
Or how do we help with the conversation when we talk? And helping people understand there's a job.
So I think a piece of that is, okay, if we're the liaisons or the people basically public speaking on this behalf, is there something we could be working on that makes that job a little easier? You know, like I don't have any good talking points right now. And so I'm just thinking about like, how can I be a better commissioner? What are we doing? How should I approach these answers?
We are in a bit of a catch about it too, because I don't think it would be- how does that dovetail with the work that we do?
One of the last things I was trying to do, I don't know if I showed you, I was trying to make some sort of org charts, you know, in terms of like how our body would work with the AIPP and how we would connect and who would be responsible for what, and like, you know, how those pieces would fit together. I think that makes sense you know, in terms of like something we should be actively thinking about. We have access to the latest plans. Part of the thinking, and this is, you know, part of the questions that I asked Sophie too, is think about this city liaison person and what does that person do? How does that person interact, right? With this body, with the collection, with, you know, the AAP. What else is happening in the city? Because I'd be curious, Sophie, in terms of, you know, what you do on a daily basis. I'm sure, you know, you've got so many other things on your plate, right? So naturally, some of this work gets kind of pushed to the side. So urgent piece to get this position fleshed out sooner or later, you know, like what was interesting. So I think that's part of it, but I think for us to, you know, go back to the plan as we know it too, understand how those pieces work together, right? And to encourage city and issues to continue to have those conversations to flesh it out so we can begin that process. You know, from the end of JCAC, I think they're pretty close. Like they want to, you know, get this kind of moving like by the end of the fall or so. So I think that's our timeline.
Yeah.
So again, I go back to what are we working on? You know?
So I think what we can do is, and again, like to help the city understand how these two bodies work together based on the documentation that we have. I think we all receive the same documentation.
That can be a project for us. Outside of this, Channel 4 News stops me on the street and says, let's talk about the city's park plan. What are we saying? What am I talking about? What, I mean, outside of, and I don't want to rest in that one space where we are hypercritical, because that's where our eyes have to be at this point. And so everything is, well, it's a big bag of bullshit. Like, I don't want to say that, you know, right now, when I know we're working through all the parts and pieces. So I would like that to be something that we work on. And even if they don't, because I don't like people giving me things to talk about, I can flesh it out myself, and really, really codify it with community. So we can spend some time taking a look at what we currently have and kind of put some points together, and make that, you know, our work and our opinion about what this is a lot stronger. And I'd get a different kind of lens from this one. That would be great. I just want us to be prepared. And I want our city officials and individuals to whom we are accountable to understand that we are more than just yes people. You know, we're back to understanding the viability of each and every here and when absent, that points of contact for that. So if we could develop what that looks
Like for me, from my perspective, is like being a part of the steering committee, being a part of the process from the beginning. Shelby knows the answer to this. You want to, Shelby, I don't. Right? So it would be almost some kind of protector for me, whether that's like a hot card we give out or this like some kind of tool that I'm not speaking for my opinion rather than speaking for the commission and our perspective. So ultimately that turning into something that serves as a guard, right? For us, is kind of what I'm thinking as far as like, well, what are we working on? Because even when I think about the questions we've challenged the committee is about like, how do you plan it for market? They're gonna do something marketing push and it's gonna go, but it's not gonna come from us.
No.
So I would just, that's kind of my perspective is just, what is it something that, because at the end of the day, I have information to be at least the bridge, have a comprehensive, better understanding of what's happening. Hope that we're prepared for when this thing.
How does that work? That needs to be vetted, formalized.
So you as commissioners are quasi-independent of the city, you're appointed by the mayor, or by council. But a lot of commissions forget this and maybe don't get in trouble with finding help my client or saying that, but I gotta represent you too. You can set the agenda however you want. You are, 5 commissioners, 3 of you make a decision today on something, you could pass them. Have the ability to appropriate money yourself, like the city council function, but you have the position commissioner to discuss and come up with recommendations on your own. So here are a couple of things. One is, a real interest in having a full-time position in the Department of Development to liaise with DCA. That's like a good topic for discussion at a business meeting. Just recommending, right, to the city administration that feels this is important. Discussion. You all set the agenda. Other thing is really doing an independent evaluation of the park plan. It's been drafts and whatnot, and the commission has now received a copy of it. So put it above board for everyone in a public meeting to kind of gather, look at it beforehand, come up with your thoughts, and then discuss with the commission if you want to come up with talking points. If you see like Orion's organizational chart idea, like where does the art commission fit into? And evaluate that and come up with 6 talking points about how you, as a commission, see what's fitting into all this and what's good and bad.
I love that, especially.
But it will take a little bit of, initiative on the part of the commissioners. You don't have to wait for the city to do that. The city helps
Yeah.
with cases and presents you up. And the projects you want to work on or initiatives.
I think the talking points is a great idea to set forth and especially since the AIPP isn't established yet, so we can get better. We're supposed to be doing, so they're not addressing us.
Up to we're defining what we do. Yeah, that kind of control. How we are.
So I'll be happy to prepare some sort of drafts, charts for our next meeting. Yeah, and maybe if each of us come. In terms of talking.
Could we share
Yeah.
that space?
Yeah. I'm not sure.
I've had the annoying public body caveat is, probably best to save discussion for in person here. I know that we're all used to doing, comments being good with I do it all the time. Well, you're limited as a public body as to how much discussion you can.
I understand.
Those things. But, if.
We got pretty far though.
He's not gonna say.
Like, actually.
Yes, he is.
No, was any.
There is a,
Yeah.
You can review, you can kind of hold your own thoughts and.
Bring their notes, bring notes. With the,
That could be one way, yeah. You just want to avoid a live discussion with each other. But if folks have say, for instance, Jamal, you review Ryan's organizational chart, you come up with 10 items you want to discuss, or 10 things that are important to you, you can send that to Sophie, so we can collect it and send it out for a meeting. That way you can have a formal discussion. You can kind of get a sense of where everybody stands with going to the meeting. That saves time. But that's a way where you don't have live discussion before the action.
Let's do. Modify, our, final, this is how we want to position ourselves. Document it, and there's,
I think that's great.
I wanted to just mention that at least in a previous version, and I'll confess, I didn't get through the latest. The plan that was passed out, and I've got it, I keep carrying it back and forth from to the office, and I'll read more than the first book at some point. But there was at some point, a org chart in that plan that GCAC or that Lord created that talked about the interplay between AIPP and the commission and.
and I want us to define.
So I think-
Our part in.
Right, so I just want to make sure, like, you could start, I guess, you could start with that thing
Yeah.
and then kind of react to that and kind of flesh it out. Instead of kind of starting from a blank piece of paper.
That's cool.
Chuck,
Right,
but yeah, that's a
well, and I think that's also part of the benefit of that and making sure that it aligns with what your ideas are for engagement, right? Because if you find that you want to be interacting in a different way, like now's the time to bring it up, right?
It's just defining more of the nuances. I feel like overall. Addition to those things.
Is there opportunity to change subject? Are you guys done talking about the public art plan? I got another question. So when it comes to the already, our, what's already in our, what do we call it, our inventory.
Collection.
Our collection.
Yeah,
I just think I need a better understanding how you all are how we're letting pieces into this collection. Like, we are in a turning where people are going to start dumping their projects in the city's, this is the city's public, this needs to be maintenance and maintained by the city. And I need a better understanding of where we stand and how that stuff is being vetted into the collection. You guys need to think about what we want. So I guess my next question would be this. Maybe there's a code I haven't read. But if I find out what our, things are to letting something in.
Alignment. So we want to look at those and evaluation criteria in that plan.
I think this was all, so the idea that I always had is that this person, right, the city liaison would help us define that. Actually, so before the art plan, before this was like on this with the board, been this kind of longstanding, like, idea that we should be more strategic, right, about the collection. So I think this is part of the opportunity I don't know that left to our own devices, we can do this, but I think this is a perfect ingredient, you know, for this system. To help us define what that looks like, what the strategy is for collecting from the city's point of view. And be really clear about that. And then also, again, make sure that it aligns in some way, shape, or form with what the AI is on or will.
I have a question. um, Trying to get at what brings this question to the table from your. Do you think that whoever. Like that's a nuance too, like, do you own the art? They're asking us to maintain it. Or we wanting to maintain it. Have to say, as the commission, you have to donate that piece, and then we take that in our collection, and we take care of it, bottom line. So it really isn't a case by case at that point. If they're donating,
I will say this just because I work for Ohio history, everybody thinks when they, like we won, everybody thinks that, oh, you know, because it's significant to them that it should be history. And Ohio history has done a really good job at explaining how pieces and things aren't significant to Ohio's history, right? So that they can say no in a situation where someone wants to donate their entire collection or something to us.
yeah, we
So,
need some,
yeah, we
yes,
could-
we need something
We need
like
something
that.
I mean, we do have, there is a, I don't know where it is, but from Lewis, I've seen an acceptance policy doesn't exist. It's just outdated.
Recommendations and stuff, they. That's not an area considering, that's
No,
our-
yeah.
our evaluation
Yeah.
criteria.
Yes.
The new pieces that come through would.
When I first joined.
Yeah.
I don't remember what happened. But the consultant was to evaluate it.
There wasn't.
Maybe there was.
Lori saw that through, yeah. And then.
I think that's ultimately how you guys got to an updated website,
Yeah,
because you.
Well,
did-
yeah, Lori collected all that data of identifying who actually
Yeah,
owned
right.
the pieces
Yeah.
and who's actually been maintaining the pieces. That was all.
yeah, Lori got
I
that
think,
initial list
and
and Lewis took
Cropping
it.
of that work, but I don't know. I haven't seen that
Yeah,
work.
we, and updates the praise. Praise.
Brings also from a budget standpoint, if we're collecting or we're adding to the collection, maintaining it is going to require money. So we also need to know, this is another push for, let's be completely transparent with our budget. Like what is available, what line items are we going to allocate X amount of dollars to 10 pieces every year? So
CSC doesn't do meetings.
That's determination.
When we do big public commissions, that's all part of the budget and it's built in. Everything else we've seen since, I just kind of things that you want to see right away
Or like temporary work.
very small projects.
Agreement.
That the maker's monument.
That was approved, that was.
Oh, from the,
Right.
Right.
yeah, from the zoo.
But there's not like a maintenance consideration.
It's high.
It's a digital, that was a digital piece of art that was printed, so I don't know that there was a requirement for maintenance for, I think it's a
And it's
different
a-
issue.
okay,
It's
so that's
sculpture, it's outdoors. so-
Whatever that stuff is.
But I'm also thinking about projects that I know are coming down the pipe that will come before the commission that I know happening. And it's for me, I'm like on both sides of it, where it's like, you know, there's this community, a statue that wants to happen. but ultimately they think that it should go to the commission. And as a commissioner, I'm like, well, wait a minute, where's the money
Yeah.
to sustain that? And so I've challenged them to say, before you even come to the commission, why don't you go station and get a maintenance plan type of like endowment created so that now, as a commission, when you come before us to say, hey, take this Amina statue, you've at least got a maintenance plan for these statues that does, so it doesn't necessarily become another burden for the city
Right.
to maintain. So I'm just thinking, are we thinking this stuff through, you know, like,
But this is,
Girl.
this is what that, this is what that plan is designed to do.
It is, it's designed to do that. I've not read it in there, like, I'm still looking at it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's in the toolkit section. Okay.
Education specific.
Kind of best practices, or not, what they came up with a better term.
Mhm.
Common practices are part of the toolkit. That would be like the appendix.
So, but so it's all in there. We just have, it's so thick, right? Like there's a lot. But that's it. We've got to spend some time with that to really deeply understand all in there.
so
If we have to
A website and a link to apply to. Conversation on that site. This is our collection, but open it up to others to like consider.
Those are,
So we answered some of those donation questions on the site, and it doesn't put that weight on anybody here.
which is,
we again cannot count on the public art plan to say, like, solve all our problems.
No, this is our collection site that I'm on.
Yeah, the,
Just thinking
city
about
can-
how, these projects, who are on public city property, and then they have to come before us, and they're not a part of, because again, the APP is split. Property amount, so the
Yeah.
public art plan isn't gonna solve everything,
No.
because some of those things aren't going to
Somewhere.
actually, require all that if they're on city property. So what I'm trying to get us to do is think through that piece. When it's on city property, it's like it doesn't have to go through AIPP. It doesn't need AIPP support or funds. And it's have to vote and say yay or nay on whether it comes into our collection. I feel like that should be based on something, right? So do they have a supporting public art maintenance plan? Is there, does this piece fall into the cultural significance of Columbus? Like, there should be some guidelines to
Yeah.
whoever
I think
taking
I'm
this piece
talking
of thing.
about addresses a lot of that, some things you can read up on and then form that. Piece that they're considering, and just hopefully they. Run the way, because we can't maintain it.
also great, I mean, a lot of other communities that have established public art plans have these documents publicly available on their website.
Mhm.
So, and a lot of the work that GCAC and Lord did, how other cities, what the other policies are.
Mhm.
So, I think one of the benefits of having that availability is that, commissioners could do their own research on other cities that have plans and see, how does that compare to the toolkit that's being provided by Lord? What are the,
Reminds me, I would like, our CACP. Each program and vice versa, so. Yes,
yeah,
there's.
when that exists.
Yeah.
As a map of, all publicly available art in the community, and not all of that is owned by the city, right? So they have a map that shows you where all the art is in town, whether that's on private land or on public land.
Oh, that's
Well, it's not all there, but the intention is there.
The intention would be
That's the,
And this is getting at more of the like working part of things, so it's not just. Here's how you understand what the substantive and.
policy is the document you're looking for. That is the acceptance policy.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Buddy, there is a publication that was developed by the American Museums Association. That has a lot of terrific information in. I used when I was helping the Supreme Court develop their policies around their art collection. So it's out there.
Well, even the State House has its own, the state, in the Ohio State House.
Oh, yeah.
has a
Absolutely.
Very strict policy on what can and can't be
Oh, yeah.
added to their, so there are a lot of different examples. So it's not like it start, again, with a blank piece of paper.
No, we're not starting from scratch yet.
Are we going to now take this on as an assignment for the commission to actually updates and stuff based upon what we see in this possibility?
Yeah, you could certainly do that.
There, at some point, there were some notes about when staff took a look at that document, what things needed to be updated. I don't know where that document lives or where that process is.
That process kind of came to a bit of a halt.
Right.
Relations from the public art plan.
Yeah,
So
there was some language that talked about, like the word blight is in there, and
that's in the code.
that's in the code, okay.
Yeah. So we want to modernize our code language. Make
Yes.
it less problematic.
Ryan is going to start us out with our
Chart.
chart draft. Any takers on this, starting to give policy.
I'll take it.
Okay.
But can I get the bones of the first edit first? Like, is that shareable?
Yeah, you could have a Word doc.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to go from there.
Yeah.
Happy to help you.
Great is if we can pull what you did for the screen. And then kind of,
Hopefully it's on their website.
okay.
Well, like I said, a lot of that is public record, right? So a lot of other communities have that.
What's been interesting for, I think, and congratulations on the road, but the suburbs are doing it better than the city. Got it all figured out. I've been going to their websites like, wow.
Figured out. For Mr. Right there.
So you guys want to change subject again? All right, I would love to know where we're at with, things like, I know the Mount Vernon, Plaza had a piece, the gate of, the gate, I call it gate of no return. So I had originally, when we had talked about that, at the time, Baba Tony was living, we missed that, he's now passed away, and he actually had all the history to that piece. So I'm just wondering with that, I'm in bigger conversations about the Near East Side and just kind of trying to understand, like, where the commission is on that, because it comes up, but you can tell no one has any good information about it, and there's a lot of like, just this going on, and I don't even know where we're at with that. So I wondered if you had any updates.
So that's another thing. Plan, see what their recommendation was. Or something that goes through that. Two?
I heard that they're like in contract for that building, so we'll.
This was, I'm not sure. But I know that on our side of things, that hasn't been.
That was already removed, or is it still on?
No, it's
Still on the property, and they just, they're in contract for the building. So there's a big tower that looks on into the statue, like that tower's been sold, or it's getting sold, and so so is the whole Mount Vernon Avenue Plaza Corner is being reimagined.
Mhm.
So I feel like the statues right now are just living in the heart of it right
Yeah.
now. And so a lot of people don't even know it's in there. But I'm wondering with all the development and now these new purchases and these new, you know, people, like where are we with protecting that piece? Was just kind of where my curiosity is.
I'm also concerned because we looked at several locations, we scouted several locations. Yeah, also, we also moved a war monument. Dollars that we just found. And nobody likes to talk about equity any longer, but that is still on the tip of my tongue, that we are actually doing things for community. And the same energy that we had with moving ran over statue should be taken into consideration when we're talking about a piece of art that is part of this history, and the artist is still asking, like, what's going on with this? So, that needs to be really considered. Yeah, that's troubling me. And I know we tried to put it on that side plot, right?
Brownsville Park.
Brownsville Park, and that's not gonna work there.
It's on things.
Yeah, that's
But
not
I
gonna
was
work.
out the,
Yeah.
and it was, it's a very small space.
Mhm.
They're large statue.
Yeah, it's time.
I'm not sure.
Right.
Recommendation from proceed. A lot of our policy recommendations right now will be based on.
I'm just curious how that one needs to wait on it because it's already in our collection and it's ours, right? So how does that involve the public? Like, how does the public art plan matter in this situation?
recommendation. What's it?
What I don't want to happen is what we had. Actuals that we have that we acquire the land and all of a sudden artists come.
Now they don't
Yeah.
care about the fees.
Yeah, like I don't want a bulldozer to come through there. And
No, no one told us.
Yeah, nobody told us.
It keeps
I-
happening.
Yeah, I'm really concerned. I really. Am. And developers that are in the east side that we've been talking to that crossed our door, they don't have the concern about the history of this are making money, which I'm not mad at them for. 'Cause they do.
So that's what I'm feeling off of.
Yeah,
They
I'm
feel
concerned.
protected by the city because of whatever tax credits or whatever they didn't smooth. Done. But what happens is when you acquire property, and for example, a perfect example of that is, the cameraman statues that had sat on East Long Street for as long as I can remember, right? Ohio, so it sat on East Long Street in front of the Martin Luther King Library. Martin Luther King Library closes, Ohio State purchases the building and then gets rid of the statue and claims they didn't know.
Got you.
Technically, the community was responsible, like, so what happened was the Columbus City Schools created these statues in partnership with the city's centennial, okay? And apparently these statues were installed with the blessing of Amina Robinson around the community.
Okay.
Now, the commission never took these statues on as a part of the collection. That's a whole nother conversation. However, each place that the statues were placed, those organizations served as stewards for the statues. So the library, the Martin Luther King Library, was a steward for the cameraman, right? And they took care of the cameraman. there was a Amina Robinson statue that sat at King Arts Complex. King Arts Complex takes care, they're the steward of that statue.
Yes.
And that's kind of what happened, but because, things have turned over, right? And there's no, it's not in the commission's books, it's not, now,
And it sounds like it was on technically on private property too. Talking about King Arts
all of
Complex,
these
you're talking
statues
about
sat on, so
in the-
some of them did.
Okay.
Some of them were like, for example, the one at King Arts, that technically that's city property though. So it's like, I'm still conflicted with answering
Yeah.
that because even these stewards were city stewards. Like like Martin Luther King Library is city libraries, you know? So it's like, these stewards of the statue were still, I would say like, you know, affiliated by way of, you know? So, but what happens is the neighborhood's changing and developers are coming in to purchasing these properties, and then there's no change of guard. And then it looks like you don't care about this community's effort in its own preservation of telling these stories.
Is there a way for us as a commission to get word? I was not aware of this, and that's horrifying. I'm terribly sad.
Mhm.
But is there a way, if there are sculptures around the city that are, you know, potential victims of this sort of thing, can we find out where they are and can we take them on? I mean, if they're on city property, let's
Figure it out.
figure it out.
And I guess that's what I'm trying to seed in this conversation because and understand better about how we take pieces on. Because again, why wasn't it something that came before the
Right,
commission
I don't
10
understand
years
that.
ago or whatever? So is it that the community to some extent doesn't understand the process? Or is it that these statues never were considered real, you know, were respected, or whatever the case is? I just don't know. But in moving forward, it's just about like us fixing and tweaking these things because I do understand like there's been no conversation around public art until now. So for the first time, we can pull back and look at these special case studies and situations to say it doesn't happen again because one of the things I know we're experiencing on the east side is it's changing over rapidly. There's those that have been like myself who've been in the community all their life. And you know, there needs to be some kind of protection from the city, from the locals. You know, we can't, another thing too, everybody's like, oh, you know, locally, and it's like, now you're calling somebody who moved here a year ago a local. Wait a minute, pause, right? How are you really protecting the locals? If this is you know, I went to Monroe Middle School, right down the street. Monroe Middle School curated these statues with Amina Robinson while she was living. That's significant, right? But because, you know, the turnover, the development and stuff in the area, they don't know those stories. All they see is a statue that needs some work, right? Because it wasn't put on the, you know, it wasn't in our eye to maintain, right? And so working to fix those things and just having these conversations.
Nobody asked questions about it.
Right.
And are those examples, are those pieces lost? Are they missing or are they lost
They're
over
lost.
time? They were crushed.
I was at the Lincoln, that we are guarding.
That's because Susan is like not,
The one at the
Yeah.
yard, those troglodytes threw it in the garbage.
yeah.
All the pieces
Yeah.
into the building. So it's just those types of things.
Yeah.
And not to over personalize this at all, but when we have the authority and we have the foresight to begin thinking and talking about how we secure these things, let's just do it because
Yeah, only way to protect them.
it's the only way to protect them. And like down to we did the Near East Side walk over the weekend. And the locals who had never been inside of the Lincoln Theater and they live right around the corner from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, never, you know, never even took a walk up long to know that this statue is here and who inspired by, like, having those engaging conversations with people was essential to them understanding the importance of the arts in this community. So I think we need to spend a little bit more time.
Absolutely. And I'm remembering something. Next time we have a meeting in here, Mike's.
I have asked.
Oh. Okay. It just reminded me, I had a hard time hearing people. Okay, I forgot to say something.
But that mic is for, probably for the streaming audience,
Yeah.
not for the in-person audience.
Yeah.
That's probably good.
Sean, but I like the point that you brought up. I think it's really critical.
Mhm.
And so when I put together this draft work,
Mhm.
let's think about where that piece fits.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
Right? So, no,
That
I
sounds
think
exactly like the
this is
right
key,
fit for the
right?
commission, right?
Yeah. This is key.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna continue to come up, you know.
Yeah.
it's-
Call me the Kate
Yes.
and a little.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately, I mean, I want to give the art plan some time, but ultimately, when I think about where the commission should be headed, we want to become stewards of the collection, right? And in a way that gives Columbus some pride in this art thing. At some point, I think it would be about us being or of an advocate for the collection in a way that's like, you know, let's toot our horn on what we've got. I think it's down the line, but I do see that being a part of the fun of the work.
Yeah, we could.
And, you know,
Yeah.
yeah. But it would be great because as the AIPP starts to form, there's gonna be some kind of entitlement that comes from a committee that isn't us, right? Projects and the things that manifest from it, they'll have a lot of things to hang their hat on, but are they in our collection though? Right? And so just being kind of saying like, being a body that can have its own thing going on too.
That overlap with the org chart that Mariah's talking about is if there's a piece that the IPP is working on that's going to be on the public, like, yeah.
And what I like about this combo is that we're establishing
Follow up group chat on the art.
Oh, that'd be great, yeah. And I'd also like to suggest, like, if you need some stakeholders or partners, bring the museum in, like Ohio History, we're doing that work right now, so it wouldn't make sense for you guys to work around us. We should just kind of work together. And I would even say, like, when we're looking at, we're the hub ultimately, like, of the information. So if you're struggling with a site, finding a site, I can think of a couple we're not looking at. So, yeah. Yeah, as long as it's not too far out of the community, I think we'll be okay.
I think so. And if it got to the point where the building wasn't more anyone in.
Don't forget what we have in storage already.
That's true. That's true.
21 feet, 3.5 tons.
Staircase.
All kinds of stuff, right?
With pieces of. Don't worry about it.
I'd also say, don't go out of your way looking for community when we have access to it.
Yeah.
So like, I can put the right people in front of you who actually know what that piece is, rather than you going to the commission to other places looking for these folks. Let me know.
And you were referring to Christopher Columbus.
Yeah. He will not be named. Yep.
I thought maybe it was the controversy.
Somewhere around.
Great.
I like that.
Oh, yeah.
In our
It had to be with the symbol to be removed. So it was.
Putting it together.
Oh, no, I think it's not even somewhere around the former.
Are you kidding?
Oh, yeah, picture of the meeting.
Okay.
Perfect.
So Commissioner recruitment. If you have. Go through, Jamie Goodman, who's on certification. And they're in charge of all the shit right now. So, I can send to Jamie and to Valerie Pittman Bradshaw, who is, all three person to be What's the commissioner?
On the commission?
So
Yes.
Okay, you still on it? Okay.
How many meetings are we allowed to miss before we are asked to?
kicked out.
Yeah, well, I mean, it has happened.
Right.
I think it was
Not very many.
absent from a long consecutive commission.
Oh, it is considered, even though we
Yeah.
don't have, okay.
The business meeting that's coming up on the 30th.
So have
will
you
not be-
like-
Got it.
Not have members.
Sounds like a vacancy.
I have a spreadsheet. When it comes to,
So we're looking for one person right now,
yeah,
to,
but we
because
always like to have a list of names, of people that might be interested, should anything.
Have 3 names on.
We have 3 right now.
Okay.
private,
Names, going.
He said that Pat might be
So
interested in.
So if we're not, if he's not here at the next meeting,
Do you
Okay.
know the one that I know, or do you know the other 2?
if we're not here at the next
Okay.
meeting.
Okay, so that doesn't get to 3.
Fall back to work, so.
Yeah.
go ahead and put it on the agenda.
Right now.
Right.
Great.
Right.
She doesn't have the flexibility she used to.
Okay.
So for the. I'm not sure if it's fine, anyway. I have a few names that was mentioned. And even if it's not so.
Like on The Voice or something.
Yeah, well. You don't care how far you are.
Sessions, I followed the year travel, and then, from the, we
Yeah.
picked one from the names that we selected, and then I could.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this commission doesn't participate in that process? Okay. I'm just asking what the process is to bring on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cause you.
I can't even mind.
I know, I prefer.
The same way.
So then.
I don't have any.
There's something else on the, here's the, Yeah.
We finally got the documents that we needed from line and then. Budget is one of these.
Yes.
When did you send that? Sorry?
It was.
Oh, in the materials for today. Okay. Got that?
oh, yes, if you guys are free, join me at the,
You should have started at 5:30.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, we get the first one, that's your dirt.
That's right.
All right.
So adjournment?
Yeah.
Motion to adjourn?
I'll-
Second.
Yep.
Okay,
First, second.
second.